Hey! Welcome to TOPMatter YouTube channel. Share this with your friends and family to help spread truth. Thank you. Now, before we get started, all credit goes to Morris Lindsay for creating this article. Now let's get right into it. All of our lives, we have been taught that Jesus was a blue-eyed, blonde-haired, white man. This image of a white Messiah appears in churches all across the Americas, especially in the black church. But as accepted as this image which has been presented to us may be, it is false. Not only was the Messiah black, but everyone mentioned in the Bible was black. From Adam to Paul, the writings in the book that we called the Bible were all written by people of color. Although color is a subject that highly avoided in today's white supremacist society, the Bible contains detailed narratives on the physical appearances and skin color of God's chosen people, the Hebrew Israelites. But in order to stay on topic, today I will only be discussing the color of the Messiah, who the world calls Jesus. Please note that this has nothing to do with race or black pride. This is only about getting the truth out to our people so they can wake up from the lies. So if you're a seeker of truth, then journey with me as I travel through history and prove without a shadow of a doubt that Jesus was black. Prior to the 1400s, the ruling nation of Europe and all of the known world worshipped a black Messiah. From the 1st century of when the Messiah hit the scene, preaching the good news to the Israelites, all the way up until the late 1400s when black people were ruling Europe, everyone living during those time periods were very aware that Yeshua, who the world now calls Jesus, was a black man. Many well-noted history books such as From Babylon to Timbuktu, The Black Hebrews and The Black Christ, Blacked Out Through Whitewashed, etc. that document the history of the different nations of people who lived in ancient times, all attest to the fact that the Hebrew Messiah of the Bible was indeed a black man. It wasn't until the year 1492, when the Romans conquered the Moors, Hebrew Israelites from the tribe of Judah who were ruling Europe, that the image of the Messiah began to change from black to white. With the Moors out of the picture, the Europeans immediately began whitewashing all of the black history in Europe, replacing all of the original black images of the Messiah and our people, with white images of their people, to instill white supremacy throughout Europe. To add insult to injury, the blacks who were now considered second-class citizens, were forbidden to educate themselves and had to learn their history from their oppressors. This would further destroy them because the only way that black people would be able to learn, would now be through images. According to David Friedberg, in his work, The Power of Images, pictures were justified because they were the books of the illiterate, and writers like Martin Luther emphasized the value of pictures which showed histories. Histories, in the broad sense, meant pictures and sculptures with narrative subjects from the Bible. So after the Hebrews that were living in Europe were conquered, the new class of illiterate blacks had to learn a whitewashed history, a history they would not know as originally their own. This method of brainwashing through whitewashing then became the norm, and spread from Europe all the way to the Americas. When the Europeans took our ancestors from the coast of Africa and brought us to the foreign lands of the Americas, the first thing they did was brainwash our minds. They stripped us of our identity, gave us new names, forbid us from speaking our Hebrew language, forbid us from worshipping Yahweh, and even forbid us to read the Bible so they couldn't discover the truth. The religion of the Christianity and the image of a white Jesus was then forced upon our ancestors, and as time passed, our people forgot who they were, and accepted the culture of America, its Christian religion, and its white Jesus. They then passed their beliefs down to us, causing us to believe that the Messiah was white too. By convincing us that the Son of God was white, we automatically associated whiteness with superiority and blackness with inferiority. They then used our low self-esteem against us, to make us think that we should be grateful to be the slaves of a white man. Although we are no longer slaves, many of our people still have this mentality today where they feel privileged and honored to be in the presence of a white man. They do this because it has been embedded into their minds through religious programming that God is white, therefore his people must be white. But none of these lies that white America has taught us is true, especially about the color of Yeshua, Jesus. Here is more proof that the Messiah was black. The famous 1st century writer Josephus, 37 to 100 AD, penned the earliest non-biblical testimony of whom we now call Jesus. Josephus was a black Jew who lived around the time of the Messiah, and he reportedly had access to official Roman records in which he based his information and his work from. In his work, The Human Form of Jesus and His Wonderful Works, Josephus discussed the true color of the Messiah being black. However, his texts were passed through the hands of white European Christian leaders who altered them to hide the truth about the Messiah and who his people were. Fortunately, however, biblical scholar Robert Isler, in a classic 1931 study of Josephus's testimony, was able to reconstruct the unaltered testimony based on a newly discovered Old Russian translation that preserved the original Greek text. According to Isler's reconstruction, the oldest non-biblical description of Jesus read as follows: "At that time also there appeared a certain man of magic power, if it be meet to call him a man, whose name is Jesus, whom certain Greeks call the Son of a God, but his disciples call the true prophet. He was a man of simple appearance, mature age, black-skinned, malacrous, short growth, 3 cubits tall, hunchbacked, prognathous, lit, with a long face, macropresuppose, a long nose, eyebrows meeting above the nose dot, with scanty, curly hair, but having a line in the middle of the head after the fashion of the Nazareans, with an undeveloped beard. This short, black-skinned, mature, hunchbacked Jesus with an unibrow, short curly hair and undeveloped beard bears no resemblance to the Jesus Christ taken for granted today by most of the Christian world, the tall, long-haired, long-bearded, white-skinned and blue-eyed Son of God." Yet, this earliest textual record matches well the earliest iconographic evidence. The earliest visual depiction of Jesus is a painting that was found in 1921 on a wall of the baptismal chamber of the house church at Dura Europos, Syria, and dated around 235 AD. This picture of Jesus is called Healing the Paralytic Man, Mark 2:1-12, and displays him as being short and dark-skinned with a small curly afro. This description has now been supported by the new science of forensic anthropology. In 2002, British forensic scientists and Israeli archaeologists reconstructed what they believe is the most accurate image of Jesus based off of data obtained from the multidisciplinary approach. In December 2002, Popular Science magazine published a cover story on the findings which confirm that Jesus would have been short, around 57 to 59, hair short with tight curls, a weather-beaten face which would have made him appear older, dark eyes and complexion. He probably looked a great deal more like a dark-skinned Semite than Westerners are used to seeing, they concluded. The textual, visual, and scientific evidence agrees. Then, Jesus likely was a short, dark-skinned Hebrew Israelite with short curly, woolly hair and dark eyes. Now that we have traced back the historical figure and color of Yeshua, whom the world calls Jesus, as being black, then just who is the blue-dyed, blonde-haired white European-looking dude in all of the paintings? All of the images and paintings that were displayed in churches today are of a guy by the name of Cesar Borgia. In case you've never heard of this name before, Cesar Borgia was an Italian mobster and captain in the papal military during the 1500s. He was also the son of Pope Alexander I of Rome. In an effort to keep black slaves oppressed so that they could sustain their rulership in Rome, Pope Alexander VI hired Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo to paint all of the images of the Black Christ in Europe in the image of his son Cesar Borgia. Since both of these artists were well known, a competition broke out between the two, to see who could impress the Pope more by making a new image, the Pope's son, that would deceive the world into thinking that Cesar was Jesus. So the majority of the images displaying the white European-looking Jesus that we see in paintings today at churches and Christian stores, is actually a picture of Cesar Borgia, not the Messiah. But Leo and Michelangelo didn't just stop there. They painted all of the people of the Bible to be white, deceiving the entire world of what the people of the book really looked like. Over time, these false images have saturated the minds of the masses to such a degree that the notion of the Messiah being black sounds like a lie. Many people, especially our people, regard the notion of the Messiah and the disciples being black as an attempt to instill black pride in our race, rather than considering if it could be true or not. America has brainwashed us so much that when you try to tell our people the truth, they can't receive it because they've been taught so long to believe in lies. And if you're one of these people who can't receive the truth because of your pre-programmed beliefs, then don't take my word for it. Let's go to the scriptures and see what color the Messiah was there. His head and hair were white, pure, like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes like a flame of fire. His feet were like fine brass, as if refined in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. Revelation 1:14-15. In the verse above, John reveals to us how the Messiah will look when he returns to bring judgment to the world. He states that the Messiah's hair is white, meaning pure, and woolly, and that his feet are similar to brass that was burnt in a furnace. Brass is already brown, like a doorknob, so anything burned has to get very dark from oxidation, and since his feet were the same color as the rest of his body, that means his skin complexion was dark brass. This is exactly the color that Josephus described him as being. But let's go to the so-called Old Testament of the Bible and get another witness of how the Messiah appears. I watched till thrones were put in place, and the Ancient of Days was seated. His garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head was like pure wool. His throne was a fiery flame, its wheels a burning fire. Daniel 7:9. In the verse above, Daniel agrees 100% with John that the Messiah has pure woolly hair, and we all know that black people are the only ones with woolly hair. So don't let America continue to fool you into thinking that the Messiah was white. It is a lie from the pits of hell that they have been brainwashing our minds with ever since we arrived here. Some might say, well, so what if the Messiah is black? Color doesn't matter, but that is an ignorant point of view. If color didn't matter, then why did they go through all of the trouble to paint our Messiah their color? Obviously color matters. If it didn't, they would have left him black, and told our ancestors the truth about who the people of the book were. Instead, they told them lies so they could pass those lies down to us in hopes that we would never find out that Yeshua, whom the world calls Jesus, was black, and that we are God's chosen people, whom the entire Bible was written about. I know that the information I presented to you today might be hard pill for you to swallow, but instead of ignoring what you just read, how about doing some due diligence to see if what I said is true? Follow the instructions that the Most High gave us and prove all things. 1 Thessalonians 5:21, and study to show yourselves approved. 2 Timothy 2:15. Not only on this subject, but on all subjects. It would be a terrible thing to believe in something your entire life, only to find out that it was a lie after you die. Hopefully something I said today will cause you to be a student of the Word and a seeker of truth, so that you can be set free from all of the lies that we've inherited. Shalom. Hey. Thank you for watching this video. Again, all credit to Morris Lindsay for this amazing article. I would suggest you visit his website, www.truthovertradition.com. Please subscribe for more videos that matter, or may benefit you in some way. See you in the next video. Bye, for now.